Hi everybody, we're just going to look at a few records today. Of late I found it quite difficult to listen to records and get as much out of them as I have done in the past. There's a bit of kind of upheaval obviously with moving, and it's sort of, I don't know, it's not like an inner turmoil, but there's a sort of sense of needing to be able to be in a place where you can listen. And I listened to a couple of records I've had on the shelf for years and years and years and never ever played. Now this one I've knew some of it, I've never played the entire album. But I played the entire album. Not true, I didn't play the first track because it's Space Oddity. And I thought, what a great sounding record this is. This is Tony Visconti, of course, producing. There's some good tracks on here. It was good to just sit back and remember the time. It was 68, 69. And when he was, he hadn't made it. He'd had his big hit, but then there was flop after flop after flop to come. And this really had something about it. It perfectly captured the period. The sound of it. There's something about the free festivals. Now, the last track on here is Memory of a Free Festival, and it's a bit anthemic, and it's almost like a Hey Jude repetition. There are elements on here of you just hear little touches of influences, because obviously it's the 60s, not a lot had gone before. There's a touch of the Beatles on a track, the long sprawling lyrics over the 9-minute track Signet Committee, a bit Dylan-esque, But there's also a couple of moments where you think, oh, that's the same tune as he used later on. There are melodies on here which are the same as he used with his most famous album, Ziggy Stardust, etc. But it had a good feel. I think it helped, I've mislaid it, but I think it helped having the lyric sheet and just sitting back and reading the lyric sheet. It's a lyric inner in this case. And so it brought it back to life, and it brought the period to life. And I think sometimes you need to kind of almost imagine it. And I remember seeing a clip of him and Glastonbury Fair, I think it was, on a Glastonbury Fair triple LP, there's a track by him, which he's submitted to it. But anyway, so it just made me feel kind of good to hear that again. For the first time, say again, but for the first time I had bits. But to actually sit down and listen to that was good. Now this album, I don't know if I showed it before or not, but possibly. It's a cheapie, Mammoths by Decameron. Mammoth Special it is actually, by Decameron. And this has got some really bad, the first track is so cheesy, it's awful. I mean, just take a look at these guys. How straight are these? 1976. But there are a couple of tracks on here which just are elevated above to another place. I mean, there's some kind of throwaway stuff, but this last track I'll just play a bit of it. It has an element of Cobb's, Clive original band, Moish McStiff, the singer out of that.
As you took my breath away,
it has that lovely build up.
behold, I will give you a day.
I like his slightly folk voice.
I took it without questioning, misunderstanding what you gave. I loved you then and believed in you. You said,
Still
please
builds.
do not
There's this little melody that comes through. I think it's the use of the strings on this particular album.
behind
Really well done.
smile. It's just that with you I have nothing left to hide behind. I can't be everywhere and be anywhere.
Real plaintive
I can't
calling.
love everyone and love anyone but you. Say now we could be one. So do I, so do I. But I do not want friends. I don't need you. I don't need you. I don't need you. And I do not want friends. I don't need you.
And it carries on a little bit just to fade. Look, quietens down. But to me, that's a really good way to end an album. You know, if they'd have done tracks like that throughout the whole LP, the LP could have been an absolute 5-star monster. Now, some of you may have hated that, and probably did. But there's just that wonderful, I love his voice. Oh, there's a sort of restraint to a voice, and at the same time, a real plea. Anyway, let me flick on something which to the UK people would possibly bring back wonderful memories. This is called Size 10 Shuffle. It's a single on BBC Records. It's actually the B-side of the Lord Peter Wimsey theme. Now that was a 70s show of Ian Carmichael, a detective thing, period thing. I mean, a couple of good episodes, but mainly ridiculous. But the B-side is where it's at. This is by a band called the Boyfriends. Let me flick this over. It's on a different deck. It's maybe a bit crackly, but I was so happy to find this. This is almost like a grail, although it's a cheap record. And there'll be people who will probably be rushing out to buy this. You can get it on Discogs for like 3 or 4 quid. Real drum breaks there. Now that is from the theme tune of a children's programme called Paddington. And we've all heard of Paddington. So much better. Michael Hordern narrating and doing the voices. And I remember seeing a programme years ago. Someone had found the original cardboard cutout characters which they used for the cartoon. They were just thrown in a skip at the back of the studio. And apparently, I mean, they were actually really big. They were probably 3 or 4 feet tall. And on TV, of course, you know, you imagine these are just cartoons. They're only so big, maybe this big. They're huge, absolutely huge. Paddington himself must have been about 4 or 5 feet tall, the model. Yeah, 3, 4 feet tall. Really amazing to see these things. And of course, no one would ever see their likes again. They were just discarded, and this guy just happened to find a few of them. But anyway, here is a record I picked up today. I need to flick this over. This is Bartok's Sonata for 2 pianos and percussion. A really fantastic piece. Written in 1923, not too long before he died. I think he died 28. But a wonderful, wonderful piece. It can be difficult in a way if you're not really into this kind of music to kind of take it on board. But what he tried to do was use the piano as percussive instruments, as well as using drums and xylophones and stuff. Usually just, in a way to kind of back up the pianos, but he used 2 pianos. His wife actually wrote some of her music for the piano. Really interesting piece. Very influential, but also very difficult to find. It's not one that's recorded a huge amount. It's an incredibly complicated piece to play because of the rhythms and the stop starts, etc. He was always interested in trying to get more out of it, if you like. I'm going to just play you a couple of bits. I'll just drop the needle. Quieter passages. Record needs a bit of a clean. Because there's still melody, but it's played in a very, very kind of staccato style. It's percussive. In a way, it's hard to stop listening to that, but it's just a different piece. It's something which you may want to look out for. It's quite a rewarding piece, and you can hear the power of it. This is a mono recording. It'd be interesting to hear a stereo version of it, or a stereo copy. In a way, the mono has a kind of, bass presence, if you like. But yeah, interesting records. I just thought I'd share a few of those with you. Whether or not this video will be loved as much as my others, it remains to be seen, because that's what I care for. That's what I care about most. All right, everyone. I think I may do a few of these where we just talk about records. See you later.